So I thought I'd do another update. So I went back to the mine, and unfortunately, it's typical. Basically, as you can see, it was a sunny day, which wasn't ideal. And you can see I flew the drone. That obviously took like 15 minutes or so, and then I walked around with the GoPro cameras, another 15 minutes, and then the 360 one. Although because I meant to put the 360 in with the GoPro, but I didn't. I forgot the SD card, so then I had to go around with the 360 camera on its own, so that you can see the delay in the time the shadows moving. So that's a bit of an issue. I mean, I was curious to know I mean, because I have all the 360 stuff. If I could use like was it the inhumate um, delighting method? Anyway, let me switch the cameras on. Also, about 10% of the camera is resolved completely in the wrong place. So there was that. And so you can see the drone stuff, the GoPro stuff, and the 360 stuff. So it all works pretty well together. I set on the calibration the Insta360 to spherical, and then left the others. When really, one thing I forgot to do was the rolling shutter compensation. Those should have been, but it didn't. In the grand scheme of things, it didn't seem to be too bad. Although I'm wondering now. I mean, although it looks pretty good, and it's an absolutely huge model, 200 million polygons. I saved the OBJ and that like 20 gig, 20 gig OBJ, so you can load it in anything. So I'm gonna have to decimate a model out, re-topo that model and bring that topo model in, and use that to bake. And there's a whole number of like how we're gonna do the. I mean, there's a certain amount of like for the ground. I think I'm going to maybe sort of generate a general bump map and then maybe extract the green areas and the brown areas and come up with some sort of procedural way of doing tiling texture for the ground. And then for the when we're close to the building, try and use the actual texture. But where we're far away, then go again to like a tiling texture. I think that would be a way of trying to, if you want it for run it in a game engine, right? They even got the inside as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, I mean that's a bit, but you're never gonna. I mean, I want it so you can just walk around. It doesn't need to be super detailed high up. It's just low down. I'd like it to be the. Anyway, I thought it was worth doing, even though it was overcast. I mean, not overcast, sunny day. Just to get the practice in, and to just tune the method a bit. But yeah, it's sort of. Um, So yeah, the other thing was to export out a point cloud version of this, because I can use that. I did try. Well, either I can export out a decimated version and use that for the 3D tracking, or I can export out the point cloud. And the point clouds are quite usually smaller than the OBJ stuff. So I'll go export out like a sort of convert it into like lidar effectively, although it's not really lidar. But as far as the camera tracking program, it will treat it like lidar. So I need to do that. But I went to generate the model because in Metashape you have the three processes: align photo, build model, and that will create the polygon. Or you can do the build point cloud. So I need to do the build point cloud, and that should give us a model that can actually load. I mean, the other way we can do it is we could decimate the model under polygons, and then you go model decimate. So you can like say 1% of this, right? Which might be 1 gigabyte. No, whatever 1% of two gigabytes of. I know it was yeah 1 gigabyte. Well, anyway, whatever. Um, so I can actually load it into and use that. But I thought let's try the point cloud first because that will give us a more detailed thing. And then I knew with the point cloud in PF track at least, you only need as long as you can see 4 points and you can tap those 4 points onto the point cloud, it will give you the camera track, which is pretty good. So and then obviously the camera track will line register to the model which is also pretty handy. So I'll be exploring that. Um, but yeah, it's going. I mean, well, the main thing was that I managed that it wasn't a problem, and I didn't think it would be a problem to match the drone, the GoPro, and the 360, have them all in the same project. It was fine. I mean, there was a bit of, as I say, there was some that was solved in the wrong place that I just ignored. And there was a few that didn't solve at all. So we probably lost about maybe 5 or 10% of the data was just turned out to be junk. But yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, I mean, if let's. I mean, this walk came out amazingly well. Um, Also, my stereo pair method. That I unfortunately when I turned up to the place, I'd broken my camera rig, so I had to just resort to the sort of the GoPro in the sort of cross format, as opposed to the 6 GoPros and the 3 above and 3 below format, which would have worked better. But you can see, in some places it worked really well. Some places it's quite noisy though, and I'm wondering, how that noise is coming in, whether it's ISO noise, noise in the sensor, or whether it's fighting the 360. The 360, I'm wondering, is how useful is the 360 stuff, because it's sort of quite low res in comparison to the GoPro stuff, and it's not. So I'm just wondering, really, do we really need it, since we're getting the ground from the drone anyway? Do we really need to use the 360 at all? Is it how much is it really helping? And is it introducing noise? So that was just, yeah. But you can see it's super detailed. But yeah, it's always that case of like, how can I improve it? I mean, obviously it would have been nice if it was overcast, but it was a sort of thing of like, rather than, because I made the effort to drive there, I thought, well, let's just go and do it anyway. And I can have a look at the delighting method, as I said, the Ian Hubert thing. See if I can use one of the panospheres to light a white version of the model, and then use that, divide that by the albedo. I think that was the method. But the problem is, as I say, because it's this overall project about an hour to do all the drone, the land-based photography and everything. So obviously the sun moves. But yeah, like I say, I thought, well, let's just go through it. It'd be interesting to see if I run into any issues. And the only issue I had, as I said, was some of those solves cameras were miles away in his own, but most of them solved in the right place, and so I'm reasonably happy. I think what I said next thing I wanted to explore was get a point cloud out. I shot some footage on my iPhone on like a little gimbal to track with. That was the next thing to do. I did at the PF Track does have this feature where you can give it all your photo set for your photogrammetry model. It'll create its own photogrammetry model, and then it should be able to register and automatically your camera tracks. But I couldn't seem to get that to work. So as I say, I'm going to resort to converting this effectively to a sort of a point cloud in the LiDAR format, and then we can use that to register the camera tracking. So that's that. This took quite a long time to process. It probably took about 6 hours. So obviously reality capture's got the edge there, but probably the reality capture it doesn't support DNG, which the drone shoots in. So you have to do all your processing beforehand in Lightroom or whatever. Spit out your 8 bits, flattened. This was a mixture. So this had the DNGs on the drone, DNG on the 360, the Insta360, which is only like 6K, so it's not really need to be like 8 or 12K, I think. And then I had the GoPro 7s, blacks, and they were only shooting 8-bit log. So because they can only do RAW in the night shot mode. Maybe the more modern action cameras can shoot RAW, because it'd be good to have them all RAW, and then you can do the whole lift the shadows and recover the highlights, which is the whole point of shooting in RAW, is so that you can recover shadow detail and highlights. So you increase in the dynamic range and you get just more detail in the shadows and on the highlights. So but yeah, so as I say, the GoPros I've got are just shooting 8-bit, and it's just the drone and the 360 camera that are shooting in the DNG. But as I say, reality capture doesn't support DNG as far as I know, and I don't think it supports 360 either. You'd have to convert the 360 into 90-degree camera frustum equivalent. Yeah, it would be a headache. Oh, it would just be more processing beforehand. It's not saying it's any better or any worse, but I find so it depends really what you're trying to do. But as I say, it's quite a lot of photos here. It's over 3,000 photos, so 6 hours. That's not too bad really. I mean, they're not particularly high megapixel. We're not talking 48 megapixel. We're only talking 18 on the. So, well, anyway, the effective resolution is 6K, I think 5K or 4K, and then 5K on the drone, something like that. So they're not super high res. I'm thinking about upgrading when I have some money. Upgrade my drone from the Phantom 4 to the Air 3, I think it is, which has both a zoom, a telephoto and wide angle, 24 and 70 millimeter equivalent, and it can shoot, and it has, was it dual layer something? So effectively, it's claimed 48 megapixel. So that should be quite. That obviously increased megapixel. Better. So that should give us better definition, and the longer reach in the lens means we can get around the 50-meter rule. We don't need to get the drones as close to the building. This is the main issue here. This is like a ruin, so I think it might be. But technically, it's any structure. You shouldn't really fly this close. So there is that. But it is a ruin. No one's living there as far as I know. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. I'm gonna stop the video. But yeah, it was just do a bit of an update. So as I say, tomorrow I'm going to explore the point cloud. It's just because it's been terrible weather all week for like the whole. It seems to be like rainy, and then when it's not raining, it's sunshine. It's like I just want the overcast days. Where are the overcast days? But I was going to have to wait another week, and I'm kind of thinking, let's just do what I can when I can. So let's do the point cloud. Let's do the camera track. Let's get all that working. Let's get the whole process working, and then I'll maybe explore once I've got the camera tracking and the point cloud and the camera tracking working, possibly having a look and see how is it possible to relight with using the divide method, and the white HDRI divide method on the bake thing, which looked a bit of a palaver to set up, but it's probably worth exploring. Yeah, okay, I think that's it.